Good afternoon, everyone. We are the Group 5, and this afternoon, we will going to discuss the topic given to us about human flourishing and progress and the development. This section presents Jason Hickel's development framework focus on the development. At the end of this discussion, everyone will be able to discuss human flourishing in the context of progress and technology. Explain the development as a progress and development framework. And last, everyone would be able to differentiate between traditional framework of progress and development and Hickel's concept of the development. Hickel's concept of the development is discussed as an alternative to narrowing the gap between rich and poor countries. We all know that all of us are suffering, especially now that there is pandemic. Many people are suffering due to lack of money to provide for their daily needs. Many people in poor countries died due to lack of hospital equipment. However, other countries, especially those rich countries, are capable to do anything. They have enough hospital equipment, they have enough money to provide for their country's needs. And for me, that is the example of the huge gap between rich and poor countries. Before anything else, let us first discuss what is overconsumption.
Overconsumption. 70% of people in middle and high income countries believe that overconsumption is putting the planet and society at risk. What is overconsumption or sobra nga pagkonsumo is often defined as consumption of hedonic goods by individual with undesirable personality traits, low moral, or belonging to minority group. The overconsumption describes a situation where the use of a natural resource has exceeded the sustainable capacity of a system. How do you think overconsumption puts the planet and society at risk? Because that consumers already outpace the sustainable resources. So, it's our society and planet is at risk because resources will be limited in the future. Example sa overconsumption. Ang sobra nga pagkonsumo sa pagkaon karon na pandemya kay syempre ang matag usa na tawo is gaantak nag food supplies para sa ilahang adlaw-adlaw nga kinahanglanon kay mahadlok basig mahutdan. Ubang supermarket karong panahon na musuffer na og shortage sa ilahang product tungod sa pandemya. This is another example of overconsumption. Water is one of the overconsumed. There have many people who was wasting the importance of water. Some people are consume it in a good way, but some of it was wasting. Water is one of the most important when it comes of living this planet, but some are didn't mind it because of the improvement of the world and also the purpose of the water.
Overproduction and overconsumption are bad signs, both for individual and society as a whole. It signifies extreme imbalance and waste. It also adds to the already high levels of pollution and toxic gases that contribute to the global warming. As has been reported in the numerous publications in the past decade, the impact of climate change transcends international borders, as well as levels of privilege and wealth. Jason Edward Hickels is an economic anthropologist whose research focuses on global inequality and political ecology. He is known for his book The Divide, A Brief Guide to Global Inequality and Its Solution, and Less is More, How Degrowth Will Save the World. Heads of state are gathering in New York to sign the UN's new Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. The main objective is to eradicate poverty by 2030. Given all the fanfare, one might think that SDGs are about to offer fresh plan for how to save the world, but beneath all of the hype, it's business as usual. The main strategy for eradicating poverty is the same growth. Now, let's talk about growth.
Growth. Growth has been the main objective of development for the past 70 years, despite the fact that it's not working. Since 1980, the global economy has been grown by 380%, but the number of people living in poverty on the less $5 a day has increased by more than 1.1 billion. That is 17 times the population of Britain. So much trickle down effect. Jason highlighted, forget developing poor country, it's time to de-develop rich countries. So it's basically mean that instead of pushing poor country to catch up with rich one, we should be getting rich country to catch down to more appropriate level of development.
To think about human progress and indeed the purpose of life itself, it's like asking people to stop moving positively through life, to stop learning, to stop improving, and to stop growing. Now let's talk about the framework of the development.
The framework of de-development is the process of allowing the higher class of society slow down and allowing the lower class to catch up. The de-developing framework is about shifting the idea of development from economic growth to the life expectancy and happiness. For the past 70 years, growth has been the basis of development. The framework suggests that richer countries should catch down to poorer countries instead of the latter catching up to the richer economies. The difference between the development framework and the traditional framework is that the development framework is focuses more on the real essence of life instead of the economic growth. Through Hickel's proposed framework, many countries will be more competent since the framework creates equity that can help other countries to prosper as well. According to Hickel, how can rich countries de-develop? Rich countries can de-develop by limiting their consumption to provide more opportunities to the other countries. There are people where they purchase items just to show off their status. This is something that should be stopped. Why does Hickel frown upon pundits using terms such as degrowth, zero growth, or de-development in describing an alternative framework? They are using the wrong language or term that describe the status of their development, which are technically accurate but off-putting for anyone who's not already on board. Such terms are repulsive because they run against the deepest frame we used to think about human progress and indeed the purpose of life itself. It is like asking people to stop moving positively through life, to stop learning, improving, and growing. Some people might think that the development is about giving things up, but that is not the case. Hickel stated that this is not about giving anything up. It is certainly not about living a life of voluntary misery or imposing harsh limits on human potential. On the contrary, it is about reaching the higher level of understanding and consciousness about what we are doing here and why.
For Hickel, the development is a progress toward the understanding and being conscious about the reason of our existence and purpose. It is not about being miserable, for the purpose of this is to have a happy and efficient life. Degrowth does not mean poverty. On the contrary, degrowth is perfectly compatible with high levels of human development. It is entirely possible for us to shrink our resource consumption while increasing things that really matter, such as human happiness, well being, education, and health. And that would be all. I hope you learned something from our topic. Thank you.